All right. Hi, my name's Kat. I'm an alcoholic. It's great to be here. Yeah, thanks for asking me to speak. My sobriety date is June 28th, 2015. Um, yeah, live in Rhode Island and here to share my story. So I'm from Connecticut. When I was born, I wasn't born an alcoholic, I don't believe, but like I definitely had all of the like spiritual malady that they talk about. Like I can just remember being like really uncomfortable in my own skin and like just really shy, um, afraid of like what other people were thinking of, and also like having that like already prescribed of like what I knew you thought of, knew that you didn't like me. I knew that um, wouldn't want to be around me, thought I was awkward, all of that stuff. Like I wanted and just kind of operated. Um, a lot of my like life as a kid was just consumed with like just trying to figure out like how to cope with those feelings and like just not having a lot of tools to like navigate that like and get through that. So I I tried other things before, like I tried alcohol, like I tried food, I tried like lying was like a big thing for me. Like I love to like bend the truth, make you think I was like a certain way. And when I found alcohol, it was perfect for me, like I could do the lying piece, which I really, and I could also just like drink of the way that um alcohol made me feel. Like I can remember my first drink and having all those like gross, like cringy, like shy, awkward feelings, and then having like a bunch to drink. And I drank a bunch because I had been lying and telling my friends I was like this huge drinker when I was like not a big drinker at all, and like a shy kid that like sat home and I just like pretended that I was this like big drinker. And when I like told my mom first four step, she just laughed. My first fifth step, she just laughed at me, which was good to like experience just for my own. Yeah, like I just lived in a lot of delusion. But I so my first drink, my friends were like under the impression that I was like some big drinker, and I loved the feeling that alcohol produced in me, and I loved like the ego strength that I got from alcohol too. Like I got to feel like I wasn't this shy, fearful kid. Like I got to feel like I'm this like crazy badass person, and like wouldn't you want to be friends with me, and like I don't know, everybody look at me type of feeling that like I never just felt like I just felt so afraid like when I wasn't drinking. So it allowed um that feeling to like happen when I was drinking. um about a lot of my thing happened when I was in college. I went to UMass. I went in on the UMass track. I had all these really good aspirations of like, oh, I'm gonna like, get these friends, and I'm gonna do really well in school, and I'm gonna have like, these healthy like relationships, and like none of that like happens. Like I did really poorly in school. I like stopped being able to like show up for track practice, and I had like no friends. And a lot of that was like due to my drinking. I like, you know, when I would drink, I got into this like different person. Like my friends would call me just this different name because it was the person that I was when I was, it didn't resemble like my personality at all, like in real life. And like I liked that person a whole lot more than like I liked myself just being sober. And yeah, so I chose alcohol over, you know, up to school, showing up for friendships, showing up for the track. And I really didn't like realize that like those were the choices that I was making. I just didn't care, like I just loved the way that it made me feel, and it just felt worth it to like trade those off. Um, Something really weird also happened to me when I would drink, where like I would put it in my body and then I would like look around the room and try to like find other people that had it and would like drink like the last little bit of their drinks and just like be a fiend around the room, like, and going up to people and trying to be like really sly and be like, hey, can I get some of your, it's just like a gross, cringy situation. I definitely got mono in college from like all the just grossness that I like just, you know, I didn't care about like being healthy or taking care of myself, that was like the least of my concern. I put myself in like really dangerous situations, and I just didn't care, like I liked that ego strength. It felt worth it to me. And the trade-off, like I just didn't see it coming. But there came a point where like it really stopped working. Like I would drink and like I wouldn't, like my brain would still be going crazy. Like the fears, the like neurotic thinking, like I would stay up like really late, just like with all these fears and worries, and like no amount of alcohol was like quelling that, like I'd feel physically drunk. I was not getting relief that I used to get um, when drinking. It was really confusing for me. It was really annoying. It was really frustrating. Like I tried to keep drinking, trying to get that same like euphoric feeling that I first felt. And like I would just be able to get that anymore, but I still like kept trying. That for me, like it stopped working pretty quickly, like I turned like pretty suicidal when I started to drink towards the end. And I still like kept doing it, like I still couldn't get the thought out of my head that like, well, maybe if I like look better, or if I feel better like before I start drinking, then it won't end how it has been ending lately, and I just couldn't like get that sweet spot. Like I couldn't control it. I couldn't like just have 2 drinks. It was just, and I was really confused about it. Like I went to a therapist about it. We talked about like my social anxiety, but I brought up drinking, and I didn't need to quote it. I know that's like a real thing, but we brought up my drinking, and like, we did some division, like the number of days in the week and like how I was drinking, which was mostly like binge drinking at the time. And we determined that like I wasn't an alcoholic, and that I like didn't have a drinking problem, and but I would also like try all these things to make me feel. I'd read inspirational books, like book talks about, I'd go to church, I'd reach out to therapists, I would like try to rope my parents into this and like help me like count like time I had away from alcohol. Like I can remember like pouring like a bunch of vodka out with my mom, because I was like an economy drinker. Like I loved to just get like the cheapest stuff that would get me like the most drunk, and just buying like those plastic like bottles of um vodka in like cases, and before I didn't get sober. I got sober, sorry, when I was 19. So like I didn't have the type of access where I could just like go out and get it, like I really had to hoard it in it. I had all these like on like just making sure that I had enough. But yeah, none of the like parental stuff, the friends, like that, the couple that I did have, the boyfriend, like none of that like kept me away from drinking. None of that kept me away from like hurting myself. Like it was just, I was like not headed towards like a happy road. And I was 19, so like that really stunk. like I couldn't fix myself. I couldn't make it better. And I had the opportunity to get sober through my grandpa. You know, he's in the program. He has like 50 something years. I think he just celebrated his anniversary in February. And you know, he told me like I didn't have to drink again. And I wasn't necessarily convinced that like I wanted to stop drinking, you know, like I wanted to still figure it out. I wanted to like feel better, still like wanted to keep drinking, but I was so miserable and depressed that like I just give it a shot, you know. He told me I didn't have to drink again. He told me to like stop smoking tobacco. I ended up at my first AA meeting like the next day, just like at a meeting, a bunch of old guys, super blue collar town. Did not feel like I like necessarily like looked like anybody in that room, but they were talking about like the spiritual malady. They were talking about feeling like a social chameleon and like using alcohol to be the person that other people wanted them to be so they could just fit in and drink the way that they wanted to drink. And like I totally related to that. And you know, I haven't had to like have a drink like since the day before I came to my, you know, first AA meeting. And like my journey's definitely like, you know, grown and changed from there. But like just coming into that meeting and just feeling welcomed by people who like look nothing like me. We have not lived like the same life at all, but like we have the same disease and like we have the same solution, and how they were able to like to identify with, and how I was like hurt and miserable enough that I wanted to like keep coming to meetings, because I did hear people talking about like they were talking about the problem and they were talking about like what they were doing in their life as a solution. You know, I kept coming to meetings and like I heard the things that are super solid that like I always try to suggest, which, you know, I went to this meeting, we'd go around the room and people would say like their home group and their sobriety date and if they had a sponsor. And, you know, I was 19 years old and there was this like very cute boy who had a home group and a sponsor and a sobriety. Better like get those things. So like I figured out what my sobriety date was. It encouraged me to like find a home group and a sponsor. And you know, like I've had those things like since then. Yeah. From there, like I had the opportunity to like go back to school, and I wasn't on the track team anymore. I wasn't, you know, doing the other stuff, but like I got to be a student, and I used to like just be so chaotic, like you know, on especially like weekend nights. And I got to be a kid that like, you know, I would go to a meeting, I'd fellowship after the meeting, I'd come home, I'd go to sleep, and I'd wake up for like a women's meeting the next morning. And I had this whole like AA routine, you know, it was like a completely different life. And I started to feel really a lot. Like I didn't realize sick I was until I like started doing the stuff and like getting better. And some of that at the beginning was just like going to a meeting and just like sharing honestly like where I was at and like trying to listen to like what they're saying and like, you know, making them like my little like AA stars, where I would just kind of like look at what they were doing and try to emulate, you know, what they were doing. And I found like a sponsor up there. We went through the steps, and my life like changed, showed me you know, how I was powerless over alcohol, and I was still kind of fighting it at that point. He had just said, you know, like you can go drink, like if you are that convinced, like just go drink. And I like just at that point I didn't like feel the need to do that. I'm like super grateful, like I didn't feel the need to do that. and I just like accepted like powerlessness, like I came in really young, like I had a couple of years of like bad drinking, and I knew that like it wasn't gonna get any better, like there was really nothing that like I could do to get any better, and it could certainly, and it would certainly get worse. And other people's shares and meetings, that was like just really helpful to hear, and we did like 2 and we did 3, and like we did 3 in the subway where I just like, made that decision to like, we're doing step work like in a subway, but I made that decision to go through with the rest of the steps and like trust in something greater than myself, because like something greater than myself got me to my first meeting. It kept me alive like when I didn't really want to be alive. And like I should just trust that like I am on this right path, and I just continue to trust that. And that's still something that like is part of my program today, And I'm trying to think like what else. I went through the rest of the steps, and like through like 4 through 9, I got things where like I used to walk around campus, like with my like eyes to the ground, like was super ashamed. Like I felt like everyone like knew, and they like I just had all these like cringy stuff that like I did, and like I was like, oh, they know, and like all this stuff, but like I was just able to walk my head held high because like it didn't matter anymore. Like I've got that like I don't know, I just perspective from like doing the work where like I didn't feel like ashamed to be me anymore. And I like felt that way, as a kid, and like when I was drinking, and like I felt so like just okay with being me, and like that has been something that's like continued to grow and transform like throughout my sobriety. And I don't know what else to share. I mean, I've moved around a lot, I've had to like get a new network like multiple times, and like that's been really something that's like pushed me to like grow and like change and put myself out there. Like I don't know that just initially like off the bat, had I not like moved, I'd be willing to do, but it's really good, I can go to any meeting and like be new to that meeting and just like try to give, my sponsor showed me that like it's not about like what you can take from like any situation, but like what you can give. So like what can I give to that meeting, even if like I do feel uncomfortable, I do feel scared or all that stuff, like I can action. Like I don't need to sit in those things. Like I can just take the action for that. But I yeah, and then I don't know what it's like today, I still need to like do all the things that I did when I came, to pray daily. Even though I'm like not, I'm still out of a routine in that. And I still need to like be accountable to like the women that I have in my life, there's times where like I was not honest, and like I did do a lot of the like rational lies where like I'd be like explaining stuff or defending stuff, and like I just had to learn through like painful experiences that like what is right doesn't need to be like rationalized or explained. It's just like what is, and like I feel in my gut, my conscience, and like that's the gift that I've gotten to through the steps, is like I can like sit with like the uncomfortable feelings, or I can like sit and try to like listen and like be willing to like listen to my inner like, you know, my inner God-given gut that I used to like push down with a bunch of alcohol. 'Cause like anytime I was drinking, I had that feeling of like this is not who I want to be, like this isn't what I want to be doing, but I would just like pour alcohol over that. And like even like in sobriety, it's something that like I clear out through like doing the steps, but also like I can yeah, it's just important, like even still today, like developing that connection with my higher power and like I don't know, doing the things on a daily keeps that going, just like being accountable to people in my life, still working through practicing the steps that I need to be practicing, and like sponsoring other people has just been just keeping me in like more of the middle, more on the beam, and where I can like have assurance that like I can be sober for today. So I think that's all I'm going to share, but thank you guys so much for having me speak.